He is hyper smart. He's almost savant. In fact, if you were to ask him to lie, he wouldn't, because there's no purpose in it. He's a bit like a human Cray computer, a mainframe. He's brilliant, and if he tells you something or he says something, then it is absolutely the truth. I can validate and verify at least the things that I know people have asked about. He's telling the truth.
Did you ask him about this? I mean, it's right there. It's in the New York Times.
I didn't have to ask him. I already knew. I'm not going to go into more detail on that. I didn't find out from Eric, put it that way.
Okay. How many craft do we have? And are they
I'm talking as it relates to him briefing the Senate. I'm not going to go I'm not going to discuss about what you're saying, referring to crash retrievals. I am not going to go into that. I cannot. I will not. I'm not going to speculate what we might or might not have, how much of it we have, where it's at. I'm not going to do it.
But anyway, what we were able to confirm to the point where we could put it in the New York Times, and again, well-sourced and not speculative and on the record and, fully attributed, was that Eric Davis, among a number of other people, had briefed congressional committees with some slides, which we got, on the subject of material recoveries. Now, the best we were able to say, which is what we could confirm, was that congressional committees were briefed on the issue of material recoveries, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Without a lot of detail. And in those slides that were used to brief congressional committees, the Senate Armed Services Committee and the Senate Intelligence Committee particularly, there was reference in those slides to off-planet vehicles, possible off-planet vehicles. Now, there wasn't a lot of detail, not in the story and not what we could get, but what we could get and what we could confirm was that this information was contained in briefings and it was referenced in slides that were shown to high-level congressional committees. And to me, that's pretty dramatic.
That's a holy crap moment, Ralph, for sure.
Well, I'm glad you agree. We thought so. And again, there were people who said, well, why didn't you say more and why didn't you spell out, more?
Pentagon task force looking into them. One astrophysicist who has worked for the Pentagon's UFO program since 2007 told the New York Times that he gave a classified briefing to a Defense Department agency about retrievals from, quote, off-world vehicles not made on this Earth. Are we on the brink of full disclosure about visitors from outer space? Joining me now is Christopher Mellon. He served as Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence during the Bill Clinton and George W. Bush administrations. He also co-hosts Unidentified, Inside America's UFO Investigation on the History Channel. So, Chris, I sense that there has been a sea change recently in the way in which these reports are being carried and covered. What accounts for it? What has gone on recently?
Yeah, thank you very much. You're absolutely right. And a good example of the sea change is the fact that none other than Scientific American itself has published an article saying the subject ought to be taken seriously and investigated by the scientific community. I think this change is primarily a result of the fact that the Defense Department and the Navy themselves have stood up and publicly acknowledged that this phenomenon is real, that this is happening, that our Navy pilots are encountering these vehicles. And so that imparts a credibility that simply did not exist prior to that time.
I was quoting Eric Davis. I know you're familiar with his work when I read that New York Times paragraph a moment ago. Do you believe that there are objects in our possession, broadly defined our possession, that are from something other than this earth?
What I will say about that is that I think that assertion should be taken seriously. I'm aware of, I know Eric very well. I understand his arguments. I was present at his briefings on the Hill, and he tried to provide some leads for them to follow to enable them potentially to confirm this. It is an issue that should be taken seriously. In fact, curiously, President Trump himself on Father's Day indicated on air while being filmed that he did have classified information about Roswell, New Mexico, which is, as most people know, is the legendary site of an alleged crash of a UFO. And when asked by his son about that, about declassifying it, he said, "I'll have to think about it." I don't know what there is about Roswell that could be classified or interesting other than that one particular issue. So there is a lot of new press and new information coming forward. And again, as I said, I think this is a topic that the oversight committees should take seriously and investigate.
It's the only thing missing from this election. Who knows what the next 90 days brings? This is a global issue. This is not right. This is not a United States issue. Are there other countries that have taken a lead in the exploration of this subject?
Absolutely. In fact, we're behind several other countries. France, for many years, has had an official process involving their national security forces and police forces. Every year they examine a number of cases and bring in outside scientists. A lot of that information is public. My colleague Lou Elizondo has made trips both to Italy and South America, and we present a lot of this information on our show, as well as a lot of information from current and former U.S. military personnel and their experiences. But you're absolutely right. This is not unique to the United States. And further, our military personnel have similar experiences when they're deployed abroad in the Middle East and Afghanistan and elsewhere. So by all accounts, it is definitely a worldwide phenomenon.
A final question. Can technology alone account for what you and I are discussing? It occurs to me that by day, I make my living by speaking on Sirius XM, and my voice is bouncing across the United States on a satellite. I assume right now this conversation is doing likewise. There's a lot of stuff up in the atmosphere that didn't used to be there. Can that be an explanation, or is that too simplistic?
I do believe it's too simplistic. And the reason I say that is because in some of these cases, we have information from multiple radar systems, infrared systems, multiple naval personnel on the ground and in the air. And we're tracking these objects, performing maneuvers that clearly indicate they're under intelligent control. They're responding to our aircraft. They're out maneuvering them. And they're doing things that are far beyond any capability we possess. So that's certainly a hypothesis to consider. We have to keep an open mind going forward, but I don't think we're going to find at the end of the day that that kind of explanation can explain cases like that.